Welcome to Dove and Dragon Radio. I'm your host, M.L.Ruscsak. I'm here with special author and guest, Julie, and I'm not going to pronounce your last name. I'm going to let you do that. Otherwise, I'll butcher it.
Oh, thank you, Emma. Lovely to have to be on your show, and thank you for having me. And the surname is Sursok. Like sock, you wear a sock, so it's Sursok.
Okay, awesome. See, this is why I let you do it, because I'll butcher any name out there other than like Smith and Jones and stuff like this. Yeah. But you have this wonderful book out, and the title is kind of funny, and it caught my attention. It's called I'm Now Called a Senior WTF, and I'm now called the Senior Stories of the Heart.
That's right. I've got the two books now. So the first one is I'm Now Called a Senior WTF. Mm-hmm. And the second one, I'm Now Called a Senior Stories from the Heart. I fell in love with writing. So there we go. And hopefully there's going to be many more.
Hopefully. Now, which book came first?
WTF came first. Mm-hmm. To give you a little bit of my background, I was born in South Africa. And we had a, wonderful network of friends and family and business. And I was contracted to EMI. But we had a few incidents. One day we came home from a grocery shop and my child called from the family room and said, "Mom, come and help turn on the TV set." And we said, "You know how to turn on the television set." And we went through to the lounge and there were just leads hanging there. And our house had been ransacked. So we moved to Australia after there were a few incidences like that, but we were lucky to move to Australia. But moving to a new country is daunting. It's like a whole clean slate. Mm-hmm. And there are different things there, where people would invite you around for tea and you would think it was tea and cake, but it's actually barbecue. It's a different thing. It's like lamb chops and vegetables type of thing. So we had to learn all that, and we struggled in Sydney. And so we went up to Brisbane for a while to see if we could settle there. Nearly went back to South Africa. And I said, but we couldn't settle there. And my husband, I said, go down to Sydney, find your North Star, and let's just try. We nearly went back to South Africa because we were really struggling to settle. Financially, things were difficult. And we decided, no, let's give it a try. And he came back to Sydney. And he went to a boarding house. He saw an article in the boarding house that was doing somebody who was doing a business very similar to ours. And he walked in and he said, "How about you employ me? I'll work on commission and I'll help you build your business." And this business did take him on. And from there, we were able to grow and jumpstart to build our own business and grew it into one of the largest Royal Exhibition shows. However, just, takes its toll. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's very floss and it's Ferris wheels. But after a long period of time, it was very tiring. And we decided, it's time now to sell. And just when it was time for us to buy product for the following year, the people who were going to buy the business decided that they were going to renege on the deal, and the sale didn't go through. Mm. So there we were. We had to shut down the business with lots of debt. And we were exactly where we were in our 30s when we'd immigrated from South Africa to Australia. We were now in the same position again here in our 60s and 70s. And now what? Is there a roadmap for this? Are we retired? And people, they say, oh, they promise you when you retire, you're going to be riding camels on beaches and drinking champagne.
Oh, yes. Camels. You hear all that. You have all this money when you retire. The government just hands you money and go travel the world and sightsee. And it's not like that.
It's not like that. I was able to look around and I thought, wow, people are lonely. They're depressed. They have financial problems. They have medical issues. They have all kinds of things. But most of all, they lose their purpose. They really don't know what to do with their lives. And how do you even find your purpose? And I thought, breathe. Let's work out what I can do to make my life still significant, but also be significant to other people and help them realize that there is life after retirement. We can do all these wonderful things. We can do what we love to do. So I decided, I took a breath and I thought, what do I love to do? What am I good at? What do I enjoy? And I thought, I love to write. Let's give it a go. Let's write a book. And you know, only 1% of people who want to write a book actually do write books.
Correct. And it's not hard. It's just sitting down at your computer or with pen and paper or typewriter, however you write, and actually putting your words to paper.
Absolutely. And it's the discipline of it, because it's all very well, you can start it and stop. And in the beginning, maybe you're not that good and then you get better. But for seniors, there's a lot of stuff you have to learn, like what program do you use? Some seniors don't even know how to get into Google. You know, there's a big learning curve.
I understand that. One of my authors is a senior citizen, and I'm teaching her how to use different apps to send me digital files as her publisher.
I know. And it's also like, you know, hashtags, and there's a new language. What do we do with this new language? If you're going to have Instagram accounts or Facebook, what is a hashtag? We have to learn all that while we try to work out how do we pay our electricity bills and how do we open jars, and we're all stiff. You know, we bend down and try and pick up stuff, and unless we go to yoga and meditate and do all these things that we should be doing and eating all the wonderful foods we should be eating, you know, we tie our shoelaces and we hang down there a little while longer to see what else we can do down there, because it's, you know, all these things happen when you get older.
Right.
But I decided, you know what? I want to change people's lives. I want to get up on stage. I want to talk to people, and I want to tell them, hey, we can do this. There is a whole fourth quarter here for all of us. So decided to write this book. And the title is WTF. Now, of course, that polarizes some people, but that's how we actually all do feel. We're just not really honest about it. So for those people who are a bit challenged with WTF, we say words, thoughts, feelings. That makes everybody very happy.
There we go. I mean, we can come up with acronyms for WTF all day long.
Oh, yes. Words, you know, women that fly, you know, why the face, anything you like. So whatever blows your hair back, that's what works. So I just started and I researched all the, you know, then you think, can I do this? You know, am I ready to put myself out there? Am I prepared to be vulnerable? Of course, there's going to be criticism, but then there will be people, you will be able to change lives. So I started the process, and I decided, did I want to go the publishing route with, you know, big time publishers, where you probably get a 20-year-old who's actually reading your script and really wouldn't understand the senior issues that we are all going through. So I thought, I'm going to learn about this. So I did. I spent a year. I joined a publishing school in America, which of course is very tricky for Sydney, because all the interviews are in the middle of the night or at 3 a.m, because you've got all these time differences. But I really did learn. And there it was. There was my book number 1, and it got to number 1 in its categories in Amazon, and it got into all the bookstores. And suddenly, what I really loved to do, I was able to produce. And then, of course, the bug took me, and I thought, I can do more. So I wrote the second one, Stories from the Heart. So we've got 2. Here's the one here. I'll just show you. That's the first one there. And then that's the second one there.
Awesome. I mean, this is what we do, though. We start with, oh, I'm bored, so I'm going to write a book. And then we get the book published. And then we go, oh, I can write more. This was fun. And pretty soon you have 17 books out.
That's right. That's right. And the funny thing is that when you sit down in front of the computer and you start writing, you just feel that buzz. There's that creativity where you actually, but I think the essence is you need to write what you know and what you understand, or what you've read a lot about. You know, like if you fantasy, like you've written yourself, M.L., and so you would understand that genre. I understand my genre because I am a senior myself. So I think it's all about the authenticity, writing about what you really know. Correct. And for me, it's things like, you know, downsizing, where we have this problem where we're in our family homes, we feel comfortable there, we love living in our homes, we feel safe, but the maintenance is just death-defying. If you've got to clean and grass and cut down branches and clean all the time, suddenly your quality of life is not as great as it could be. So it's that issue. Where do you go? What do you do? How do you do it? Then it's things like virtual babysitting, with grandparenting. Like I know 6 o'clock, my kids put their kids in front of an iPad and they speak to Gaga. Mummy's probably having a shower or something, but that's our time, and we sort of virtual babysitting while mummy does something else. So it's things like that. When you get older, senior travel. When we travel, if you're on a plane and you're right near the window, it's difficult getting out.
Right.
Excuse me, as you try to climb over everybody, and the one on the end has got a "don't disturb me" mask on, and you don't want to disturb them, and then there's turbulence and you land on top of them. It's things like that.
Yeah, there's a whole different culture to the senior citizen lifestyle than there is to the 20-year-old lifestyle. I mean, I'm blessed. I live with my mother. I have my 18-year-old, so there's me, and then my senior citizen mother, and then my senior citizen great grandmother. So I see all the different perspectives because I'm exposed to it every day. It's just, what can each generation contribute to the household? But at the same time, there's the downsizing. That it's not just, oh, let's go get a 20,000 square foot house. It's, no, I don't want to clean a 20,000 square foot house.
Exactly. And it's harder when you get older. You have to, going up and down stairs is an issue. I have a husband with a bad knee, and sometimes I see him crawling up on his knees and on his hands, and I think, oh my gosh, this is not right anymore. It's time. It's time for us to move on and downsize. But there's, at least if you've got that family unit that you have, it's a wonderful perspective for each generation, because sometimes one generation doesn't understand the other generation. And we as older people have so much to teach. We've got all this experience, but on the other hand, we've got so much to learn from younger generations, especially in this techno world where we passwords and that type of thing. I know that we can be very younger generations can get very impatient with us because we're trying to learn this. We've got one foot in the old world where you sit in front of somebody and communicate, and another is a digital world. And we sort of in the middle, so we've got our foot on each side trying to navigate all of this. Yeah.
I've been trying to teach a family member about internet scams. I mean, he's a senior citizen, and he's just getting, now not working because he just retired, is teaching him about internet scammers that are out there, because he's wasted so much money on scams. I'm like, let me do the research for you if you don't understand how to do it yourself.
That's so nice. And having the patience to do that is also wonderful, because we get scams, we get phone calls all the time about this department or that department, and hand over I had somebody who called me, and it's actually in the book too, who said, your internet connection is going to go down. Do you have a problem with your computer? Go to your computer, go online and give me all your details and I will fix it. So I said, well, what is actually your ID? And they said, gave me a long number. Yeah. And I said, well, don't worry, I'll actually call the internet provider and I'll confirm that your ID is your ID. And then we can see what the problem is. But my internet seems to be working perfectly well at the moment. And he went off his brain. He was just so angry with me for not continuing, but must have accessed the fact that, I'm close to 70. So must have realized, wow, well, she's not going to be as aware. Yeah. So wonderful that you're helping somebody to do that. That's fantastic.
It's out there. You have the internet scams. They target senior citizens because they trust that you don't know the computers. They trust that during the computer generation being built, you are working somewhere, a 9-to-5 job or 12 hours a day or doing whatever you're doing. So they prey on you.
Absolutely. And they do. And some of us can fall into the trap. But, we're quite savvy. I say that, there are a lot of senior citizens who are, as I say, being left behind. But then there are a percentage of people who really pushing themselves to keep relevant. I say you need to exercise because that needs to keep your body relevant.
Right.
You need to read because that'll keep the neurons going in your brain. You have to keep it all going, because once you submit and you just say, okay, once you start believing that you are old, in a way you become old.
Exactly. You are the age you think you are. So if you keep your body doing what you were doing for the last 30 years, you're going to have a longer longevity to what you're able to do as you age. And you want to age gracefully.
Absolutely. And with dignity and also with purpose. And finding that purpose is hard, because I say you've got to just, first of all, work out, what makes you curious, what do you love to do, what are you good at, how can you give back, and maybe just write circles of all of those things, and then where it hits in the middle is what you would love to do. Some people, it's simple things. Some people, it's able to start walking or gardening or even knitting or sewing or coffee with friends, simple things. Other people, it's learning history and going to do online courses and stretching themselves. The problem is when you get older, and I found when I actually published the first book, there was such a big learning curve. And when you type into Google, how do you publish a book or write a book, or how do you do it? Because you've got covers, fonts, editing, formatting, all those things, ISBNs. I didn't know what an ISBN is. Now I know exactly what an ISBN is. So you can learn. But, it's a lot to learn initially. And the problem is when you get older, you sometimes forget. So when I wrote the second book, I had to do the whole course all over again to make sure that I was following the right steps, to make sure that you can get it into the right categories on Amazon, which is a whole big thing itself. And both books have got to #1 in their categories, and have been bestseller banners. And so I sort of feel I'm in the right space. I feel I love what I do.
You are doing wonderful for your space.
Thank you.
I mean, you don't get too many authors out there. I mean, 1% of the 1% of authors that actually publish a book, let's think about the math on that, okay? Only 1% actually gets to a bestseller category.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not going to be everyone that submits a book is going to get to bestseller. So if you can be within the 1% that gets to the top 10, you're doing something really special.
Yeah, I think I've touched a nerve for older people, and they are loving the book. And I've got 55-star reviews on my new one, which has only been out a month. So I'm really delighted that I've actually got to the core of the issue of what affects seniors, but also what makes us laugh. We have to laugh. Otherwise, this is all just a stage. It's this quarter of life. And we've got to give it a good go and have a good laugh while doing it, and relax too. One thing I really learned with publishing is that you don't have to do it all at once. You have this, I've got to get it by this due date, or you have timelines, or you set goals of when to do it. It's one step at a time. And even in the marketing, it doesn't need to be all at once. Right. It's fine if in 4 months' time you decide, okay, I'm going to do a book tour. We were very severely curtailed because Sydney was in lockdown for many months. So when I was going to go out and do a book tour, I do a lot of talks at clubs and retirement villages, and I'd go out and talk a lot. But a lot of that was curtailed because of the virus. So I had to change it more to Zoom presentations and things like that. But that's just adaptation, and you don't have to do it all at once.
Exactly. It's like, even me, I went from doing just a radio show, now it's video, as you can see. Why? Because people respond to seeing people's faces. Well, during 2020 and part of 2021, we couldn't do face-to-face in buildings and whatnot. We had to do Zoom. We had to do book clubs via whatever video platform. So
That's
we
right.
adapted.
Yes, yes. And you have to, they say adapt or die.
Mhm.
You have to adapt, and I think the new world, there are a few chapters in the new book about, mask wearing, and we all went grey. All seniors had grey roots right up
Mhm.
to here because we couldn't go out to hairdressers, and we were all wearing tracky pants, that we call them tracky pants in Sydney, with no shoes on, and sort of, I say the top was parting and the bottom was having a holiday because nobody could see
Yeah,
below the waist,
exactly. I
and
mean,
then you go, yeah, and then you go out and then you think, I don't know how to dress anymore. I don't know what to wear.
see, I'm very lucky. I do a lot of dresses. So even if my dress is on, because from
Yes.
waist up, I have to look pretty. But
Yeah.
from waist down, it's probably still my sweatpants, unless I'm going out of the store.
That's right.
That's that's the cause and effect of 2020. It's, I'm all
Absolutely.
professional waist up. My hair's done, my makeup's
That's
done, but
us.
from waist down, I'm gonna wear sweatpants or whatever.
That's
No.
it. And nobody would know any the
Mhm.
better. I know. Although when you do dress up, you feel better.
Yes.
I feel like when you sort of got your act together, you do
Mhm.
feel better about yourself. Yeah.
I mean, whatever you're doing, you have to dress for success and you
That's right.
feel better. You do.
Absolutely. You do. And you put your makeup on. I mean,
Mhm.
we weren't wearing lipstick because we were wearing masks all the time.
Mhm.
So all your lipsticks have expired. So you need to go out and get some new ones,
I
because
know.
now we can go out now to restaurants and take our masks off.
Mhm.
So wow, out came the lipstick again.
It's all a part of adapting. And the older generation, there are senior citizens, some have adapted very well and some have not. I have two of them on both ends of the spectrum. So, I mean, it's, what are we doing? What can our senior citizens be doing to find meaning in their retirement?
Yeah, it's as I say, so because we've been isolated,
Mhm.
I think there is a much more burgeoning problem of loneliness.
Mhm.
And so I think it's being very aware of other people, to even just phone and say, are you okay? Are you all right? Just that phone call can sometimes change somebody's lives, or drop in a little something, to their house, a meal or something to make people, those are the ones who are actually really stuck at home or
Mhm.
not allowed out or can't get out,
Right.
is to actually give back. And that's part of our lives. I just say, we've got to observe, we've got to learn, we've got to grow, we've got to love, and then just give it all back again, because you can't take it with you. just,
No.
just give it
See,
back.
during 2020, my dad was one of those who couldn't leave the house. He was
Oh,
completely unable. So it was going over there once a week to make sure he's okay. Pick
yes,
him the phone once a week, making sure he didn't need anything for when I was able to get up there to visit him.
yes,
So,
yes.
but it's also, what was he able to do that he enjoyed doing during 2020? That was his thing.
Absolutely. And somehow it seems to be harder, and this is not being sexist in any
Mhm.
way, but being harder for men,
Mhm.
because they're so proud, they don't like to ask for help.
Mhm.
And instead of saying, I really need help, I need companionship, in my book, I write about one guy who actually put in an ad for somebody to come and spend Christmas with him because he was so lonely.
Mhm.
Isn't that awful? You
It
don't want to have a
is.
world like that. You want to, everybody just needs to connect and love and help out.
Exactly. We have to help each other. We have to grow as a community. And community doesn't mean just your house or the city you live in. It means everyone that you touch. You can
Yes.
have friends in other countries. Isn't that wonderful? And just call
Oh,
them to see if they're okay.
yes. I really love that part about this communication,
Mhm.
because we have friends, obviously having immigrated, we have friends all over the world. And to be able to just dial in and really chat like you're having a cup of tea together is awesome. That's the real benefit of it. And especially children. I have a daughter. She lived in Los Angeles for many years. She's an actor. She was on Pretty Little Liars. But she's come out to Australia. She arrived in June to do a project in Queensland, which is up in the north. And we haven't been able to see her because the borders have been closed. But Christmas, they're opening the borders next week after months.
Awesome.
So I'll be able to see my little grandchildren and her and next week. So I'm very excited.
Awesome.
Yes.
I mean, that's always a good thing to see the grandkids and see the kids that we haven't seen in a year and connecting with family members. I mean, that can be nieces and nephews and stuff like that. For me, I just met my nephews over a couple months ago.
Oh, you see, that's the whole thing. And children grow up so quickly. They just, they're tiny and then they're suddenly little beings running around, talking and communicating and having their own personalities, and it happens so fast. So I mean, my lesson is connect and just be and really, while you can, just make sure that you have that communication, because there's so many stories that I heard from my dad, but I could have heard more. I could have spent more time listening, all the war stories and things like that, it would have to pass on.
Yes, it's finding out those stories that of our past generations so we can pass them out down to our kids. It's things that are being taken from us now that we need to recirculate so people know and be aware of it.
Yes, definitely. And the only way you can do that is by word of mouth or by writing books, because I've got some of the history in there. So,
I mean, I have all my grandfather's journals, and eventually I'll be taking his journals, pinpointing just what's relevant to my life and making a book out of it, because there's his perspective of my life and my perspective of my life growing up until I was 16.
Wow. You see, that's the whole thing. That's the takeaway that nobody would be able to see unless you actually documented that and wrote about it or whatever, or put, as you say, put it into,
journals and things.
Yes, into journals.
Because you have two different points of view. You have what I seen and what he's seen. It's just both the same life, but it's two sides of the coin. And to have that perspective, everyone has a perspective of your own life and how other people see your life versus how you see it.
Absolutely. Well, one of the books I was going to write in my repertoire coming up is Conversations Between the Generations. Because, there's a different take on what we see. It's exactly what you say. Yes,
exactly. Right. And that's a book that needs to be out there. I wrote a book or started writing a book with two of my other friends. We're all three different age groups.
Yes.
And at the beginning of the pandemic, what we each perceived to be the reality of the pandemic very early on.
Right. Very interesting. Yes. And now, it's three different friends.
Yeah. May or may not actually publish or just keep it private between us, but it's three different perspectives on what was going on in our community.
That's really interesting because it's, some people have actually loved these lockdowns because they haven't had all those pressures that are out there. They've actually enjoyed it. I mean, I must say I enjoyed writing a book because I didn't have those pressures of going out, so I could focus. Now I'm a little bit restless. I'm ready to get up to see my grandchildren. But initially it wasn't that bad because you focus on what is most important.
Correct.
And it's not all this busyness. I say to generations, just take a breath. It's you don't have to be busy and active and out there doing these little things all the time. Look at the big issues, take a deep breath, and your purpose will come to you.
Correct. But we are almost out of time. So how can our viewers and our listeners find you and your books?
Oh, ML, thank you. It's on Amazon. Both of them are on Amazon. All online bookstores, you can order online. If you go to my website, www.I'mNowCalledASenior.com, you can download from there, but that's actually only in Australia. But you can also download a free joy list or a free downsizing workbook, which is in the front of the book, which you'll be able to download even from the website. And it's a great crazy present for older people or for anybody out there looking for a gift for an older person. This is the gift.
That is very true. I mean,
I haven't. Sorry, I have an Instagram page. I'm now
you do?
Senior. Yes.
Yay!
And I've.
Uh-oh. Oh, we froze.
I started it. A few followers and now. Oh.
So you have the
yes.
Yes.
Sorry, Emma.
It's probably my internet. We've been having storms, and with storms, internet connections go haywire.
I know, I understand. Well, also Instagram page. I have a Facebook page. I'm now called a senior, plus also in my personal name. So there we go. We're on the move.
Yay! Now, if I can get my mother onto Instagram, we'll be okay.
Awesome.
So it was so grateful and wonderful speaking with you today.
Thank you, ML. Thank you so much for having me, and have a wonderful, happy holiday season. And I've loved chatting to you. Awesome.
You as well. And for our listeners and our viewers, happy reading.